TokyoBill Weekly Update. News on Japan of interest to me, TokyoBill. In this week's news, Jehovah's Witnesses sue the government. The weather agency's new word for extreme heat. Middle East conflict forces Japan to release medical stockpiles. Japan and Australia sign a major warship construction deal, and more. Beginning this month, a new wave of local lodging taxes took effect across Japan, as more than 20 prefectures and cities introduced or expanded accommodation levies on hotel, ryokan, and minpaku stays. The move aims to fund tourism infrastructure and manage over-tourism, an increasingly pressing issue in destinations like Fuji Yoshida, which recently cancelled its Cherry Blossom Festival over crowd concerns. Charges vary by region. Hokkaido levies 100 to 500 yen per person per night. Sapporo adds its own city-level tax on top of that, while Hiroshima, Gifu, and others charge flat fees of 200 yen. The tax is collected at check-in or check-out and may not appear in initial booking prices. Okinawa and Miyazaki are reportedly preparing similar measures. Japan's food service sector is approaching its government-imposed cap of 50,000 foreign workers under the Specified Skilled Worker System, prompting the government to pause issuance of relevant entry documents. The move is already disrupting hiring plans across the industry. Major restaurant chain Skylark Holdings has suspended plans to offer full-time contracts to more than 30 foreign part-time workers, while a nationwide soba chain has shelved plans to hire 10 foreign nationals as full-time staff in 2027. The pause affects workers from countries like Myanmar, where many aspiring candidates view Japan's skilled worker program as a vital escape from domestic instability. More than 800,000 foreign workers across 19 sectors are slated to enter Japan through the program by March 2029, with each sector subject to individual caps. Japan's fiscal year 2026 defense budget allocates 11 billion yen, about $70 million US, for 5 wide-area unmanned aerial vehicles for the Ground Self-Defense Force, marking a major shift away from manned attack helicopters. The procurement follows Japan's 2022 Defense Build-Up Program, which called for replacing AH-1S Cobra and AH-64D Apache helicopters with multi-purpose UAVs. 2 leading candidates have completed testing. Turkey's Bayraktar TB2S, capable of 27-hour endurance with laser-guided weapons, estimated at $5 million per unit, and Israel's Heron Mark II, offering 45-hour endurance at roughly $10 million per unit. Domestic contenders, including Subaru and American platform Gray Eagle 25M, are also in consideration. A Ground Self-Defense Force unmanned aircraft unit is targeted for establishment by fiscal year 2032. Around 20 Jehovah's Witnesses followers have filed a lawsuit against the Japanese government, claiming that government guidelines on religiously motivated child abuse are unconstitutional and violate religious freedom. The plaintiffs, seeking 2 million yen each in compensation, argue the guidelines, issued by the Welfare Ministry in December 2022, were developed without public consultation or independent expert input and effectively label normal religious practices as child abuse. The guidelines, prompted by the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, direct child consultation centers to intervene in cases including refusal of blood transfusions and corporal punishment during religious activities. The government counters that the guidelines are technical advisory tools for local governments. The lawsuit, believed to be the first of its kind, has been proceeding through closed hearings since July last year. Police in Tochigi Prefecture are warning the public after a scam exploiting Japan's newly introduced blue ticket bicycle traffic fine system. On April 12th, a 43-year-old man in Oyama City was approached by 2 men claiming to be police officers after crossing a pedestrian crossing on his bicycle. The imposters demanded an on-the-spot payment of 15,000 yen, threatening arrest if he refused. The victim complied, handing over the cash. The scam came to light when the man later flagged down a patrol car to complain about the fine. The two suspects, appearing to be in their 40s, fled in a white sedan. Oyama Police Station is investigating the incident and reminds the public that blue ticket fines are paid through financial institutions, never directly to officers. Nissan has unveiled a long-term vision placing artificial intelligence at the heart of its recovery strategy, announcing plans to equip 90% of future vehicle models with AI-based autonomous driving technology. The company also plans to trim its global lineup from 56 to 45 models, cutting low-profit vehicles and standardizing parts to streamline operations. President and CEO Ivan Espinosa said the company's performance is stabilizing ahead of schedule, following restructuring that included plant closures and job cuts. Next-generation autonomous driving technology will debut in the new Elgrand luxury minivan, due out this summer, with a full rollout targeted by the end of fiscal 2027. In Japan, Nissan aims to attract younger buyers from fiscal 2028, targeting annual domestic sales of 550,000 units by fiscal 2030. Let's take a short pause. In case you're wondering, I started the TokyoBill to write about the local craft beer scene and then included news articles on Japan that I personally found interesting, not just the big stories carried by the mainstream media. If you like what you're hearing but want further information, please visit theTokyoBill.com for links to the original articles. Thanks. And now back to this week's news. A 61-year-old fishing vessel captain fell into the sea off Uwajima City, Ehime Prefecture, after losing his balance on a ladder while the ship was on autopilot. Not wearing a life jacket, he swam approximately 1 kilometer through cold, wind-driven waters, reaching Toshima Island safely after about 50 minutes. The two other crew members on board were unaware he had fallen. The vessel continued on autopilot before running aground on an aquaculture raft, prompting the crew to raise the alarm via the captain's wife. The Japan Coast Guard used the incident to stress the critical importance of life jacket use at sea, citing statistics showing survival rates of 87% with a life jacket and just 47% without, based on data from 2019 to 2024. Fukui Prefecture, long established as Japan's dinosaur capital due to its rich fossil sites, has a new seasonal attraction: spontaneous T-Rex flash mobs along the Echizen Railway's Katsuyama-Eheiji line. Every Sunday from spring through late autumn, volunteers in inflatable dinosaur costumes entertain passengers on the Dinosaur Train, which runs to the Fukui Prefectural Dinosaur Museum. The movement traces back to cafe owner Hiroshi Watanabe, who began the tradition in June 2023 on a whim. Organized around the social media hashtag #KateNieChitetsu, the group now draws participants from as far as Hokkaido, Okinawa, the United States, and Australia. The museum itself attracted a record 1.26 million visitors in 2024, bolstered by the 2024 extension of the Hokuriku Shinkansen to Tsuruga. Japan's exports of agricultural, forestry, fishery, and food products topped 1.7 trillion yen in 2025, more than doubling the 750 billion yen recorded in 2015, according to the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries. Scallops retained the top spot despite renewed trade friction with China, which reinstated a seafood import ban in November 2025. The biggest movers over the decade were beef, up 6.6-fold to 73 billion yen and now second overall, and green tea, including matcha, up 7-fold to 4th place. Combined sake and whiskey exports reached 95 billion yen, outpacing scallops. Officials attribute the surge to booming inbound tourism, the global spread of Japanese restaurants, and cultural tailwinds such as the UNESCO recognition of washoku as intangible cultural heritage in 2013. The Institute of Science Tokyo has launched the Robotics Innovation Center on its Yushima campus in Bunkyo Ward, one of the largest automated research facilities of its kind in Japan. The center initially operates 10 dual-armed robots, named Mahoro, capable of conducting delicate laboratory experiments, such as adding minute reagents to cell cultures, continuously 24 hours a day. Where human researchers typically succeed in only 1 out of 10 such attempts due to variability in technique, Mahoro achieved a perfect 10 out of 10 in testing. The center plans to integrate AI to analyze results and recommend next steps, with the robot fleet set to expand to 20 units by 2028 and 2,000 by 2040. The US and China are among countries operating similar facilities. The Japan Meteorological Agency has officially added a new term to its weather forecast lexicon, kokushobi, meaning severely hot day, designating days when temperatures exceed 40 degrees Celsius. The agency announced the decision following an online survey of 13 candidate terms and consultation with meteorological experts. The move reflects a troubling statistical trend. Of the 108 days on record exceeding 40 degrees since weather records began in 1872, 41 of them fell within just the past 3 years, from 2023 to 2025. The new term joins a tiered system of heat vocabulary already in use: Natsubi for days above 25 degrees Celsius, Manatsubi for above 30 degrees, and Moshobi for above 35 degrees, reflecting the escalating severity of summer heat across Japan. Amid global supply chain disruption caused by the US-Israeli conflict with Iran and the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz since last February, the Japanese government has announced the release of 50 million medical gloves from its emergency stockpile of roughly 500 million. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi confirmed the move at a ministerial meeting, noting that petroleum-derived medical supplies, including gloves manufactured across Asia, face procurement risks due to reduced Middle East oil flows. Monthly domestic demand for medical gloves stands at around 90 million units, and authorities are monitoring for hoarding among large medical institutions. Japan also announced $10 billion in financial support to Southeast Asian nations to bolster energy supply chains. Additional stockpile releases remain under consideration. Researchers at Otsuka Pharmaceuticals' Advanced Science Research Institute have become the first to confirm that camphorol, a plant-derived compound identified in horseradish leaves, activates mitochondria and improves cellular energy production. The finding is significant because mitochondrial activity declines with age, stress, and inactivity, with the intracellular oxygen environment of a 60-year-old comparable to that experienced by a 20-year-old at 3,500 meters altitude. The team screened 341 high-altitude foods before identifying camphorol and developed a modified form, OPC camphorol, to improve gut bioavailability. 5 human trials demonstrated improvements in sleep duration, sleep quality scores, exercise heart rate across intensity levels, and overall physical activity. In collaboration with the University of Pittsburgh, preliminary research also suggests camphorol may help protect against space radiation damage to human cell tissue. A research team from Yamaguchi University, working with the University of Montana, has discovered that female Japanese rhinoceros beetles exhibit lifelong monandry, mating only once and actively rejecting all subsequent partners for up to 28 days, which covers the typical lifespan of a wild individual. All 85 virgin females tested accepted the first male they encountered but aggressively rebuffed later partners. Experiments ruled out chemical transfer through the spermatophore alone, or genital stimulation, as the cause of remating suppression. Instead, researchers found that virgin males produce unusually large spermatophores designed to physically fill and block the female's reproductive tract. Even a spermatophore, reduced by 60%, provided sufficient sperm for a full lifetime of reproduction. The The findings were published in Behavioral Ecology and Sociobiology. And to close, Australia and Japan formally signed contracts on Saturday, launching a landmark 10 billion Australian dollar deal for 11 Mogami-class multi-role frigates, marking Tokyo's most consequential military export since ending its post-war ban on arms sales in 2014. Defense ministers Richard Marles and Shinjiro Koizumi signed a memorandum in Melbourne reaffirming both governments' commitment to the agreement, first struck in August. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries will build the first 3 upgraded frigates in Japan from 2029, before production transitions to the Henderson shipyard near Perth for the remaining 8. The frigates are designed for submarine hunting, surface strike, and air defense, and will be deployed to protect critical maritime trade routes and Australia's northern approaches in the Indian and Pacific Oceans, regions where China's military footprint continues to grow. And that brings us to the end of this week's news roundup. Once again, your visit to my website, theTokyoBill.com, would be greatly appreciated. Donations much appreciated. I've been, and remain, Tokyo Bill. Thank you for listening, and take care.